Hi and welcome to our second video. I'm just going to tip my little camera up just a little bit more. There you go. Okay, so we're on to video 2 of the tarot deck. So I want to demystify some of the superstitions because it's one of the biggest questions, the biggest topics, let's say. There are lots of questions around this with my students, both the online students and with the physical class students. So, the questions are, do we keep our tarot decks in a box? Do we wrap them in tissue? Do we have to have protections, prayers, mantras, everything around our cards before we can use them? And so, what I say to my clients, my students, are no, you are the vessel. You are the actual vessel for the channeled messages. The cards are just a tool to bring out those messages. So, to my mind, I want to just demystify the fear that some people put into their cards, because that's what sort of comes across when you are giving a lot of reverence to your cards, when you are keeping them secret in a sacred place. You're giving a huge amount of power and energy to what is essentially pieces of card with pictures on them. And I feel that we get lost in the dogma of having to tap them 3 times, spin around in your chair, throw salt over your shoulder. There's been all sorts of questions from my students, all relating to this topic. And I want to demystify some of that. And I'm just going to reach over. So in the first video, you will have seen me using this, giving you a view of this card. So this box is 40 years old. As you can see, it is held together with fragile tape. The top of the box is completely missing. I've got sellotape down the sides, around the top. This is my deck of cards I use all of the time. The cards are in the original box. I see it's quite rare now. These are old. This is an old version of the original version of the cards. So these are quite well sought after, but probably the box would have to be in perfect condition, not in my as used quality condition box. But this is the deck. I've lost the instruction booklet. The cards are quite worn and torn. This card here, you don't get this card in the new deck. This is what I would just call a jack of some sort. And it opens up portals. It opens up a portal within the reading. So there are some of the cards in this deck that you just wouldn't get. But if I was to spread, I'd need to put the cards up really quite close. You'll see that the cards are worn. They're worn at the edges. They're a bit tatty looking. They're a bit grubby looking. And that's all good. That's all good because I'm the channel. These are just the tools that I use to open myself up to channel a message from my guides. These cards, they don't have any intrinsic power. And that, I think, when I tell that to my students, when I really sort of drive this home, suddenly they start to trust themselves in what they're seeing, hearing, feeling, or knowing as they use the cards, the messages that come through. So that's the first thing. Keep them in the original box. As I say, my other deck, my more modern deck of tarot, again, the top is missing because it just wears out, opening the cards all of the time. I've been reading tarot cards from the age of 13. So these cards are my old friends, and I love them, and I love using them, and I use them to the best of my ability. So no special place, no altar. You can, of course, if you want to create an altar, of course you can. But for those of you who are getting into this, don't get trapped into the myth and the magic and the superstitions around your cards. A simple box, a really simple box. And the box that they come in is great. That's all you need. And then the other superstition that is brought up by my students all the time is the dreaded positive or negative. So there's the positive or the reverse, the positive or the reverse. And they really get quite tied up in knots about that in terms of, is it all doom and gloom? Is it the absolute complete opposite of what the positive message is? And again, what I want to let you understand is that the reverse of the card simply means that there is maybe a slowing down of wonderful expected outcomes, or there could be something that they thought was more positive coming in, but they might have a little bit of a disappointment. I think it's really important when you're reading cards for your clients, you don't really want to put the fear into them. You don't want to handle your cards in fear either. So you don't want to wrap your deck around that fear driven, I've got to have them hiding, I've got to tap them, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. They are simply a tool that opens you up as a channel. So be kind to yourself. See your cards as that simple tool and enjoy them. Enjoy your cards. But when it comes to reading, I'm going to do a third video where we'll really look at how to read your cards. If it's in the positive position, that's fine. If it's in the negative position, it just means that things are going to be just a little bit slower into coming into fruition. But it's not all doom and gloom. So thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed that little 101 on how the myth and magic around the cards. Don't get drawn into it and enjoy them. Enjoy your cards. That's why you bought them. Until the next time, namaste.